Hello and welcome to the EuroWhat, episode 211, dropping on December 5th, 2023. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben Smith. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Mike.
In this episode, we'll be talking about a very busy November for the Eurovision preseason. How's it going, Ben?
It has been the busiest November news-wise. Last month, I'm like, yeah, we've figured it out. We're checking on the news once a month. We don't have to, respond in real time to things that are going to have completely changed in a week from now. And then, oh my gosh.
It was working so well. And then it's like, oh, everything is happening now. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, we can finally talk about the first song that dropped for Eurovision 2024, 6 months before it actually has to compete.
I can finally press publish on our top one YouTube video. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, France announced on November 8th that they will be represented by Slimane and his song Mon Amour. So Slimane won the Voice of France back in 2016, and he's done kind of the gamut of reality singing competitions. He was on Nouvelle Star, which is basically French Idol. He was on the X Factor. He's part of the Voice Belgique, both the adult and kids versions. Eurovision seems like a very good fit for his resume. He's also been a successful contestant to come out of the system, I guess. The grinder, is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's released 3 albums that have gone to number 1. He's had 9 top 40 singles as lead artist. I assume since you've had a month, you've had a chance to listen to the song, Ben?
Yes, I mean, with the fact that it has been almost a month since this song came out. I listened to it when it came out, and I had all my little bullet points in my head. And the problem is that I did not write those bullet points down.
Oh, no.
Because today I was like, I need to listen to this song again, which does not speak great for the song that I couldn't immediately pull it up. On the other hand, the title Mon Amour is a little generic. Thinking about Spotify Wrapped, one of the artists that popped up on my list of songs is Stromae, who is a Belgian performer who has a song in his most recent album called Mon Amour. And every time I see Mon Amour, I think of his song.
I think this is an indication of what France's strategy is for 2024. There's no difference if this song had dropped on November 8th or March 8th. France's broadcaster, I have a feeling they're just really overextended. They just hosted Junior Eurovision. They won Junior Eurovision, and they're just trying to decide if they're going to try to host again next year, which would be the 3rd year in a row.
I just had the mental image today as I was listening to the song of somebody at France 2 or whatever, just taking a big drag of their cigarette and just being like, well, we have Les Jeux Olympiques next summer. We have won Junior Eurovision again. I don't know. Let's just pick that guy.
It's a safe pick, I think, for France, because it's somebody who knows how to do televised singing competitions. He's expressed interest in doing Eurovision in the past. The song is, I think it's perfectly serviceable. It is a French entry.
It is the song that France wants to send every year.
Exactly. And, I don't get the sense that they're throwing down the gauntlet, because I really have a feeling they don't want to win, or at least not have that be front of mind at this point.
Yeah.
But I think it sets a good baseline for.
Yeah, that's a good base. It's a good first entry to get to hear this year. Lyrically, just sort of reading through the translation of the lyrics, my brain just wants to make it, oh, this song is not singing to a lover. This song is singing to the Eurovision Song Contest itself. Do you love me or not? Because France has had some up and down times in the last years. Oh, my love, come back to Paris, but maybe not in 2025. We're busy.
I think he's a big enough name that he probably wouldn't necessarily do the fan events and stuff. So I think seriously, their strategy is okay, we know that you can do this. We don't need to talk again until May when you are flying out there. And even then we'll meet you at the hotel. Is that cool?
Yeah. It's just hey, if you can show up at this studio at end of March, beginning of April, so we can film a nice video for the fan parties.
I would not be surprised if they have already filmed their live to tape backup at this point.
They have filmed the backup performance. They have filmed whatever the backing thing is going to be on the screens we have next year. They're just like, we're getting everything done now.
Yeah. And I mean, considering the video that they released for the debut of this song, it's just like, oh, this is going to be a very minimal performance. They don't need a choreographer. Like, he's just going to probably stand behind a microphone. He's going
to stand behind a microphone, and we're going to release the curtain of sparks behind him at the pivotal moment of the song.
Yep. Just have to remember to sign the invoice to order those sparks. So,
if there is one thing about the song, I wouldn't hate like a slightly more up-tempo disco version of it. Like if they were to give it like the Serhat I Didn't Know treatment.
Okay. Yeah, and as long as it's somebody else who takes that on, like France's broadcaster is just like, nope, like, you do you, we're busy. So
yeah, France 2 is just like, we did it, got all the Christmas shopping done, got all the Eurovision shopping done, we're good.
Yep. So see y'all in May, I guess.
Now to take a big sip of my red wine and watch the junior Eurovision results.
Yes. Oh no. Zutalor. All right.
Zutalor.
Ireland's 12 points go to France!
The other news that we have artist-wise is that Greece has selected their artist, and it's Marina Satti. She's a Berkeley alum. She's worked with Bobby McFerrin. She's worked with the EBU European Jazz Orchestra. It feels like a solid choice for Greece. That's the sort of pedigree that I feel like they've gone to before.
Yeah, and I was listening to some of her releases on Spotify, and she's gotten a lot of plays. Like, she's an established artist. It's a really interesting sound. There's a pop sensibility, but kind of a mix of what would maybe be described as world music for people who don't actually listen to world music. But yeah, like I'm very curious to hear what sort of songs are being sent her way, because like what is on Spotify right now feels very like interior and kind of restrained, and kind of reminds me of Tori Amos's Choir Girl Hotel era, and I mean that in a positive way.
Okay.
But yeah, like it doesn't have the bombast of Eurovision. So I'm curious if there's going to be something like that thrown her way. She has so many different influences and combination of genres, like a lot of Mediterranean, a lot of Balkan, sort of trap stylings mixed in there. And yeah, like I'm very curious to learn more about her.
Greece has had a public submission for potential songs that closed on December 1st. So it will be interesting to see how they combine this artist with the songs that come in and to see what ultimately results from that.
Yeah. And they are avoiding the mistake that they made last year of their like convoluted committee process.
I did appreciate that in like the news updates about this, that they called out very publicly that like, we will not be using the committee process used for this year's entry. Like, yeah, that didn't work out.
Yeah. It's just like a lot of own goals and hurdles that they didn't necessarily need to have in the rollout. They've also been debating like whether or not to do a national final or some sort of public aspect to the selection process. But it sounds like they're going to go fully internal on this. But it's interesting that they pick the artist without really any songs to pair her with at the time of selection. So, yeah, Greece will be one to watch, I think. All right. So in terms of overall 2024 planning, the slogan for next year's contest will be United by Music. And if that sounds familiar, it's because that was the slogan for 2023, and it's going to be the slogan going forward.
I mean, it's a very good slogan.
I agree. And I think the video that they used to make the announcement, like they did this sort of montage of all of the slogans that they've had for the last 20 years. And I think that made a solid case for why they should just have one permanent slogan.
As a person who has used the deep well of previous slogans entirely for joke purposes, consistent branding is nice.
Yes. And I mean, it's like one more thing to take off the checklist. I think that may be a theme of this year's Eurovision.
Why are we coming up with a completely new slogan every year when the slogans that we have just sort of sound like the list of themes from the pageant that Kirstie Alley goes through in Drop Dead Gorgeous?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad that they're sticking with this one. And maybe it was just a case of like, it took 20 years of brainstorming. It's like, oh, good. We finally found one that actually works.
And then tickets have happened already. We don't even know the full participation list or who's in what semi yet, but tickets are gone now. I was looking at the response to the announcement that tickets were going to be going on sale on November 28th, taking it with a grain of salt because the people who are going to respond on your Facebooks and your Instagrams and your Twitters and whatnot are going to be the big Euro fans. But, like, it felt kind of mixed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of it was, we don't know who's in what semi. How do I know which semi to buy tickets for if I don't know what artists I want to try and see live? For me, it feels slightly too early, but Sweden is just very on the ball and just trying to get everything in place. So I also get it.
For me, it feels early just because we've not heard anything about stage design yet.
Yeah.
So it's just okay, so the tickets that you're selling, it still feels kind of theoretical at this point. And it's actually making me wonder, are they just going to use the same design as 2013, which is well within the realm of possibility?
Mm-hmm. This year's Melfest was very eco-focused, and they were using a lot of the same staging elements from 2022. So it would not surprise me if Sweden's just we're gonna be a little bit greener. We're gonna recycle a bunch of these staging elements because recycling staging elements is not unheard of with regards to Eurovision. That's the whole deal with 1980.
Right. And yeah, on the most recent episode of The Amazing Race, they were talking about Sweden's recycling culture and that they're actually importing garbage to help recycle
at this point, they are importing other people's stuff to recycle.
If it's a greener contest, I think that's great. But it just feels like, I don't know, the train cars are out of order and the caboose is in the middle. It feels just like a skosh early to be sold out of wave one of tickets before December. On the plus side, and speaking mostly as someone who gave several money to ticketmaster.co.uk, the contest was looking more affordable, especially given that the arenas are about the same size. For the semifinal preview shows, tickets were in the range of $14 for the cheap seats to $75. For the actual semifinal, that goes up to $50 for the cheap seats to $230 for the good stuff. And then for the grand final, you're looking at $82 to $362 for tickets. I'm glad to see that the price is going down slightly. Would love to see those higher ends go a little bit lower again, just given what those ranges have been in previous years. Yeah. The last time that Malmo hosted, that was an austerity Eurovision. They were trying to recover from being Baku was way too expensive. We need to bring some sanity back to this process.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe that is one of the goals this year as well.
Also, just how did Ticketmaster.se compare to Ticketmaster.co.uk? It's just as an American, anytime I see Ticketmaster, I'm like, crap.
I did not try to get tickets. I mean, the one thing about the tickets are available in November is oh, yeah, I don't think I'm going to Sweden next year. So, do not have to stress about that. But seeing people posting on Bluesky about their ticket buying experience and queue numbers in the 300,000. It's just oh, wow, I'm glad I did not wake up at 4 a.m. for that.
Yeah. There will be a second wave of tickets. We will learn more about that once we know probably something about the staging and how many floor seats there are still available.
And what countries are competing and such.
Which semifinals are competing in.
Getting back to a more normal schedule of things, the ESC 250 countdown voting is open. It will be closing out this coming Sunday, December 10th. So if you've not submitted your ballot, this is more a note for me. Get that submitted as soon as possible. This year's countdown is moving to a new venue. It's going to be on France EFR 12, which is an online radio station. And the countdown will be New Year's Eve day, December 31st. And we'll be counting down the top 250 songs as voted by the fans. Very much looking forward to this year's countdown, particularly this new venue, which was kind of a surprise that it was a switch.
I looked into that, or at least I saw some stuff about that, and ESC Radio is also doing their own 250 countdown.
Yeah, I had no idea about this drama until you did this research.
Yeah, apparently the songfestival.be, who runs the ESC 250, had some difficult collaboration with ESC Radio, and didn't really want to say anything about it until ESC Radio was like, we're doing a 250 as well.
Apparently, the results of last year's countdown, where Euphoria was knocked to second place and Slow Mo was the number one song in the countdown, ESC Radio did not agree with that result, which is fine. But it was a much more public disagreement than I had completely missed it. But that was probably because I was getting ready for like New Year's Eve stuff.
Yeah, because I was being a normal human being with New Year's Eve plans.
I'm glad the countdown is continuing regardless. And this year should be a really interesting year in terms of results, just because we have like a very popular fan favorite that came out of this year's contest. And Loreen has 2 songs.
Which could split the vote. I say as someone who has submitted their ESC 250 with very strategic guidelines in mind.
Yeah. And also just the fact that it's just like, well, Slow-Mo is also still in the mix. And the other songs that are typically in the top 10. So it feels like it's much more up for grabs this year.
Yeah, it does. I'm really hoping that there's some wild stuff.
Social Network song, This Could Be Your Year. No.
Yeah.
It probably won't be on my ballot this year. I think I've given up that fight. So
yeah, I mean, at some point I should give up the ghost of getting Yeda and Dawn into the 250, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Sufi was the,
yeah, like Sufi had its moment. Like that was us coming together that one time. And I think that's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. So good luck to everybody who is voting in this. I hope all of your choices make it. Mathematically, I know that's not possible, but so.
But it's the thought that counts.
Yes.
Let's talk about some social media stuff, because we're not on Twitter anymore.
I think the last thing that we posted was the link to the Allons episode that we did. Was that back in October? Like, it was a while ago. And things have deteriorated there since then, if you've not been paying attention.
I think I've joked multiple times, possibly even on this program, that I was going to be scuttling around in the ceiling of Twitter and chewing on the wiring. I deleted all my tweets, save for a few greatest hits, and I'm just not there now.
I've not gone to that degree. I've just made my personal account private. We've pretty much moved shop over to Bluesky. We still have our Instagram as well. All of it is at EuroWhat as usual. But yeah, and like Bluesky is still invite only, which is kind of annoying, but we are swimming in codes. So
yeah, like if you want an invite, say hi at EuroWhatPodcast@gmail.com.
It's fun over there. The Eurovision community is building. Hashtags still aren't a thing just yet.
But there is a Eurovision feed, and it's good. And just in general, it has the vibe that I enjoyed at Twitter the most of all the various replacements. Come on and join us over there. It's a lot of fun.
We should also talk about what we are doing over on our Patreon. Thank you again to everybody who is supporting us on Patreon. It really does help with getting this main show produced. Ben, you did an episode about Scopatone earlier in November, and yeah, learned a lot about kind of the history of music videos and some really weird production choices that feel very Eurovision-y. Later this month, we will be doing our wrap up of pop culture in 2023 and what other media we've been consuming. So head on over to patreon.com/EuroWhat, and you'll be able to join the feed, get our entire catalog of bonus episodes. The Media Diet episode will be dropping on December 26th. Malta had 36 songs that they are considering over the course of 4 weeks, but it wasn't like last year's presentation where it was just endless. These were all contained within their Friday night program show. Yeah, which, if you're going to name a show that, great SEO. Anyway, it actually was a good way to present it, mainly because it moved along very quickly. Like, they had 5 songs, commercial break, 4 more songs. They're done for the week. It's awesome. 12 finalists emerged, and they are now filming their live-to-tape performances to be released in January. Ben, did you watch any of the Malta process?
I watched the first week. I came in like maybe 5 minutes late on the first week, but managed to miss nothing, which was great. Thank you, Malta. Watched it. Sort of took it in, was like, this is a little bit more rough drafty than I want to engage with these songs, and then did not show up for any of the other weeks.
I watched all 4 weeks because I didn't have much going on Fridays.
I should have, because it's like 3 p.m. on a Friday. I don't have anything else going on. I should just put this on, but yeah.
None of the songs really caught my ear in a way that was like, oh, this could be a contender. Again, these are all very much like demo versions, rough drafts, some of them rougher than others. But the 12 that advanced, I have no real beef with. I was looking through the notes that I was making for the ones that didn't get through, and a lot of those notes were like good vocal, boring song, Pretty sure I have 8 other versions of this in my playlists. Leather pants aren't for everyone. Camera does not know what to do, and word salad. And also just various iterations of Of the 12 that did advance, a couple of the ones that are noteworthy, Ryan Healy, who won X Factor Season 3, which used to be Malta's way of selecting their artists. And he was also the runner-up in last year's Malta Eurovision Song Contest. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Another one to keep an eye on, Matt Black. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. There's an X in the middle there. He was 3rd place in last year's MESC. So they're probably the 2 frontrunners of the group. And this is also Matt's 3rd consecutive MESC final appearance.
Yeah, those feel like good ones to watch of the 12.
None of the contestants from week 3 advanced, and that was correct. That was a very boring 45 minutes.
Sometimes that happens.
The final for Malta will be happening sometime in January. I don't think they've locked down a date on that just yet.
Elsewhere in selection news, East Ulal has released its lineup, and we have 15 semifinal acts who will meet up with 5 automatically qualified acts for the final. Looking in the semifinal, Laura, who represented Estonia in 2005 and 2017 and has popped up in selections for Estonia and Finland, is in the mix. The band's Traffic, that's Stig Ross's band. He's done Eurovision before in 2015. And then EuroWhat and the Two Dragons, who have Ivo Etti, who represented them in 2003, are there. And then Ollie, the East Ulal 2023 runner-up, is in the semifinals. And then in the automatic qualifiers, Brother Apollo, Carlos Ucareta, Daniel Levy, Nelelis Vexu, and Udo Sepp and Sarah Murray. The songs drop this Friday. The semifinal is January 20th. The final is February 17th. So lots to look forward to there.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear the auto qualifiers versus the semifinalists. Like, I'm very curious what Estonia's trying to go for.
Yeah, because it feels like shades of what Norway has done a couple of Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. That hasn't always worked, because sometimes if when you look at the final of Norway, often it's the auto qualifiers. Like, what if you guys just built the final out of all auto qualifiers?
Over in Spain, they've announced the 16 contestants that will be competing at Benidorm. And it is all new contestants this year. This is the 3rd year of Benidorm. The ones that I'm keeping an eye on include Maria Palais. She, our favorite show, Your Face Sounds Familiar.
Cursed program.
Yeah.
Cursed program.
She finished 3rd on her season of that show, and one of the acts that she performed was an imitation of Barbara Pravi in doing Voila. She's also written songs that have been on the shortlist for previous Spanish Eurovision entries, so she's here to play. And then Jorge Gonzalez, he tried to represent Spain in 2009. So that is another Eurovision connection. I don't know. I feel like it's a good idea to root for the contestants that have expressed previous interest in the contest. The songs for Benidorm will be released on December 14th, which is a week from this coming Thursday. And the festival will be starting the week of January 29th. So we'll have about 6 weeks to sit with the songs and pick our favorites.
Sweden dropped the list of the 30 competitors for this year's Melodifestivalen. There's no previous winners, but half the field are Melfest alumni, which I think that's just a Melfest thing. Just like every year, half of the field, or if not more, are Melfest alumni. Like I was doing some number crunching when I was pulling together the Sweden episode, and repeat performers at Melfest, Kel Surprise.
With the alumni piece of it, my only concern is that in the first heat, 5 out of the 6 acts are alumni. So Melina Borglo, who is not a Melfest alum, may have their work cut out for them.
Yeah. Oh, and the song is in Swedish too. Uh-oh.
Oof. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Amidst the various alumni, Cassiopeia, who was part of Melfest 2022 as a performer, and has notably co-wrote Tattoo and Wonderland, the song that won the Seoul season of American Song Contest, is in the mix. I liked her Melfest 2022 entry. She seems fun.
This does remind me, I forgot to look through the songwriters for the 30 entries to see what the Jimmy per capita is.
Yeah, how many Jimmys? How many Jimmys?
Azerbaijan has been kind of dropping hints on what their process has been. It's like a multi-stage internal process. They started with 214 songs, and 16 acts were invited to audition for a live panel. 6 of those acts were invited to a second stage, which I believe this is the short list. I don't know if there's going to be any further rounds after this. And one of the acts that is still in that group of 6 is ISIL, who represented Azerbaijan back in 2018. Unfortunately, she is the first Azeri act to not qualify. So I'm hoping that's not being held against her, because I like her. I like her 2018 song was not my favorite, but the rest of her catalog, I really like her voice. So yeah, I'm the fact that she's made it this far is a good sign that they're not holding a grudge.
Mm-hmm. Ukraine has shortlisted 10 acts out of the 20 they were looking at for this year's selection. Amidst the alumni in the list of 20, the one that popped out to me was Carpet Man, from Kalush Orchestra.
Great publicity photo that was included.
But also at the time when they're like, yeah, we're having everybody come and perform for us, I'm like, I just saw him a day ago in Cambridge performing live. Like, when is he going to pop back over to Ukraine to do that? He's busy manning the merch table right now. Is he supposed to be over there, or does he get to do like a video audition or something? It turned out I didn't need to worry. He did not make the short list of 10 acts, although the audience gets to choose a wild card from those 10, so we could still see Carpet Man. Melovine, who represented him in 2018 and notably popped out of a piano, is in the mix. And then other Vidbeer alums, Alyona, who I believe I saw at Iceland Airwaves in 2019, at least partially, is teaming up with also Vidbeer alum Jerry Heil.
It's a good list. And I mean, of course, it's Ukraine.
It's Ukraine.
They'll be fine. But I mean, it's interesting that the 2018 alums seem to be popping up again. So I guess we'll see how many returning acts could be going to Eurovision this year.
On one hand, it's interesting that a bunch of stuff from 5 years ago is just hello, we're back. On the other hand, if you look at how current alumni are doing, Eurovision is a pretty decent platform these days. We had been following the MTV European Music Awards, and that had 3 of this year's competitors in Best Nordic Act. Käärijä won the EMA for Best Nordic Act, and also on the list of winners, Måneskin, John's Tears.
Nice.
And then I have continued to follow the Tumblr fandom charts that come out every week, just because it's an interesting thing to see how that particular corner of the internet is processing pop culture. And they released the 2023 year in review lists a couple days ago, and Käärijä was on the music artists list at 52nd. What blew my mind is that Joker Out was at 21st.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah, I was like, when did that happen? Have I been paying attention to the wrong pony in this horse race? I feel like those two things are highly connected on some level.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those posts. But the fact that Joker Out overtook Käärijä on that is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a sense of the geographic distribution of Tumblr. If it's bigger in Slovenia than it is in Finland, or how it's driving those numbers.
Yeah, just part of the factor here, boy band.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just don't think of them in boy band the way that I think of BTS and boy band.
There's something of a One Direction factor happening there. Of there's distinct boys with personalities, and the internet loves that. Boys with emotions still making a hit in Eurovision land. But also in that list, Blind Channel. So hey, Finland and Tumblr. Who knew?
I think that's going to do it for this episode of the EuroWhat. Thanks for listening. The EuroWhat podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me. If you'd like to help support the show and access a ton of bonus content, head over to patreon.com/EuroWhat.
Free access to our full archive of more than 200 episodes going all the way back to the 2018 contest can be found on our website, EuroWhat.com.
Next time on the EuroWhat, we'll catch up with Czechia, Italy, and even more December headlines.